Hello, everybody. Welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. Right, so some of you would have remembered I was up South Shields a couple of weeks ago asking in the community tab on YouTube what everybody's player of the season was, goal of the season, highlights, and etc. etc. And today we're going to be bringing you the results. Maybe one of these are two. A few might surprise you. There's also some negativity as well. But who is going to pick up number one? Let's begin, first of all, with the best game of the season. The options were West Ham 0, Newcastle 2, Morecambe 0, Newcastle 7, Everton 0, Newcastle 2, Newcastle 3, Southampton 2. But Leicester, the away win, Leicester dominated quite by a country mile, to be honest, isn't it? And that's probably because we've just came after that game when the poll was put out. That might have some bearing in it from over 422 votes. But my own personal favourite is the 2-0 win at Goodison Park. I thought an all-round outstanding performance. I did like the two games in Southampton where we dominated first half, went down to 10 men and grinded it out. Remember, Fabian Schär got injured. That's my second favourite. Leicester's my personal favourite. Third favourite, sorry. But you guys have spoken. Us beating Leicester 4-2 when they were third in the table at the time. Sensational away win. The next one is best signing of the season. Only two options for me, because if you think about all the signings that we've made, I don't think they've been great. Ryan Fraser, Jeff Hendrick, Gillespie. And these are the only two standout candidates. And Joe Willock, who 7-7, might have scored a little bit higher if this poll had came out 2 games later. But Callum Wilson is dominating that from over 400 views. A whopping 81% of the views with Callum Wilson. Without a shadow of a doubt, his goals have kept Newcastle up. There's no question about it. 12 goals from, 26 appearances. Basically 1 and 2, which is fantastic. And keep him fit next season, you're talking 16, 17 goals. So what a signing he has been for 20 million. And the next one is who's the best young player. So this is anybody who's aged 24 and under. And those are your candidates on screen. Alan Saint-Maximin wins this one. He is just manages to fit in from votes that are just under 400 on this one. Elliot Anderson only getting 2%, considering he's had a fantastic season with breaking from under 23s to first team. Also had a good spell in the FA Youth Cup with the under 18s. Joe Willock, again, might have been a little bit higher if this poll had gone out after the 2 more goals that he scored against Sheffield United and Fulham at the end of the season. But young player of the season is Alan Saint-Maximin. Talented, can frustrate you, but individual talent. He's talked recently that he wants to go on and achieve things, and I don't see anything wrong in that. You don't want to be in the game for 15 years and show nothing for it. He wants Newcastle to be ambitious. He has to match that ambition, otherwise he's off. I don't think he'll be away in the summer. I think there will be 1 or 2 cheeky bids, but the following season I could see that's when it's time for him to make that move if Newcastle haven't progressed, which we're not expecting to. And the big one is player of the season. Who are you thinking off the top of your head there? You thinking of Joe Willock? You thinking of Karl Darlow, Callum Wilson? Well, these were the options that we narrowed down. And again, it's Callum Wilson from just under 400 votes once again. Karl Darlow just getting 9%. I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought that might be a bit tighter. Alan Saint-Maximin came runners up. Joe Willock, again, only 11%. But if this poll was, again, ran 2 weeks later after the 2 games, the final 2 games of the season, Joe Willock might have scored higher, but Callum Wilson is player of the season. He also won the club's player of the season. Well, we got a tiny, tiny, tiny little trophy. I mean, what's that all about? Where did they get that from? The pound shop. Right then, so moving on to goal of the season, and we've got 3, which we had to narrow down into a final. So this was the category 1. We had Gale's head against West Brom, Saint-Maximin's run against Burnley at home. Saint-Maximin's away dominates that quite comprehensively. Maybe that's because it's more fresh in the mind, but that's like a landslide, 71%. 3% for Wilson against Burnley on the counter. Just 5% for Shelvey's bounce and drive against Crystal Palace. So Alan Saint-Maximin won that heat. And Saint-Maximin's home goal, come on, Lee, you can do it, against Burnley as well, was runners up. Let's have a look at the Heat 2, considering of Hendrick's drive against West Ham in the opening day of the season. Joe Litton's curler scored high here with 21%. If you remember that, outside the box against Morecambe, put a top corner. Shelvey's bender against Newport, which I actually think is a better goal than Joe Litton's, only 10%. Carroll's volley against Leicester, the consolation, just 8%. But Wilson's counter goal against Everton, if you remember that, the ball is played through from the left-hand side. I think it was Lewis, I might be wrong, and that switches it across to Callum Wilson. Wilson's running through against Jordan Pickford. You've seen, obviously, when Wilson puts that away, the picture of Jordan Pickford on the floor in agony. Ooh, be beaten again. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So the third one, let's take a look at Heat 3, the final one. St. Maximum's volley against Manchester United wins this one. Murphy's low strike against Burnley, 26%, quite high votes. Wilson's first counter goal against Leicester, just 13%, and Almiron's first against West Brom. So those were the 3 heats, and we had to then put the winners and the best 2 highest runners up into the final and see what you voted for. And here's a result. And I'm a little bit surprised by this. Like, he's went with Burnley away, Alan St. Maximum, 64%, quite a high chunk. That is that really the best goal of the season? I actually don't think we've scored many great goals this season. There hasn't been any thunders. Has there been many great team goals? Maybe 1 or 2, but St. Maximum picks up your goal of the season with votes of almost 700 there. Runners up, St. Maximum's volley against Man United. Third was Joelinton's curler against Morecambe. Fourth was Wilson's counter goal against Everton. And fifth was Murphy's low strike. But who is the most improved? Now, I had to put Jacob Murphy as stand out. So he makes the final already because everybody NFTV said he's the most improved player here at Newcastle United. But Heat 1 was who would make it into the final. We're going to pick 2 out of 3. Most improved player, Joe Willock. We'll put him in this list because not so much at Newcastle, but considering his end of season form, would have raised a lot of eyebrows. It's Highbury, the Emirates, sorry, for Gunners, and also St. James Park. Nobody expected him to go in that kind of run and match Alan Shearer's record. So just under half the votes. Carl Darlow comprehensively second, Isaac Hayden 30%. So they would join then Jacob Murphy in the final. Would Murphy go on and win it? No. And you voted this. Mind you, this vote was only out for 3 hours. This is the shortest vote because I had to get it into this video because I forgot about it. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, again, most improved player this season for you guys was Joe Willock. Jacob Murphy, not far off second place. As you can see, just 3 hours ago, the vote was put out just under 300 votes. Darlow way behind in third. So most improved player is Joe Willock. Murphy just behind him with Carl Darlow way back in third place. Now, to some negativity. We'll love a bit of negativity. We like to moan as Toon fans. You know that. So, disappointment of the season. We've got, there's quite a few players we're going to name here, and then we're going to make, there's 2 heats, and then there's a final. So, section 1, heat 1, disappointment of the season. We had listed as Jamal Lewis, Matty Longstaff, Sean Longstaff, Jonjo Shelvey, and Jeff Hendrick. In this heat, this was nearly 6,500. Jamal Lewis wins that one. Jeff Hendrick not far behind. Shelvey third. Sean and then Matty. So those 2 would obviously go on to make the final. And then section 2 was Andy Carroll, Dwight Gale. Dwight Gale's going very low. Joelinton 25%. Look at Ryan Fraser. Way out in front there on that heat. So Fraser, Joelinton will obviously make the final. So who has been your disappointment of the season? Well, you've voted it. Here you go. A big whopping over 1,200 voted for you for this. And Jeff Hendrick marginally beats Ryan Fraser by only 3% in it, with Jamal Lewis not far behind on 23, and then way back Joelinton, probably because his form towards the end of the season's better. And Jonjo Shelvey, again, the last 2-3 games, he ended the season well. So maybe because he's played a couple of good games before this vote was finalised. Do you agree with that, Jeff Hendrick, marginally, with Ryan Fraser? I'll probably go along in the same kind of line with that. I don't think argue against either 2. Fraser's just been injured too much, and that silly second yellow card away at Sheffield United was disgraceful. And then Jeff Hendrick is just, he got himself sent off at Southampton, but very poor buy. Well, I say buy, it was free, but you know what I mean. Very poor signing. But who's been the biggest flop? So this was whose career has went backwards, who was good last season but declined this season. Have a look at this. So there's a short list of 4 that we'll put up. Jamal Lewis, because I think he's went backwards at Newcastle. Jeff Hendrick wins this one by 15%, a good margin. Joint second was Ryan Fraser. and Jonjo Shelvey was 4th. So the career has went backwards. And it's interesting because 3 of them are signings out of 4. That worries me going into the summer. I think Ryan Fraser needs a massive, massive pre-season season. He's obviously going to go to Scotland away at the Euros. He needs a big season because he's been very, very disappointing. He has had a couple of spells, bright sparks, but we need more of it. There is a player there. Don't want to get rid of him, but needs a big season. And what's the worst game of the season? So we had 2 heats to make it to the final on this one. Quite comprehensively, when we got beat early on the season, 3-0 at Brighton, when it absolutely outbossed us. I'll put the Newport one in there because we couldn't beat a League 2 side. Shelvey's last dying minutes, Kurlas saved were 1 on penalties. Just 3% for Southampton when they dominated us, and obviously we finished ahead of Southampton. Leeds putting 5 past us, scored 15%. But yeah, the two games against Brighton were an absolute disgrace. But that home one, I mean, Lamptey tore us a new one, didn't he? But let's take a look at Heat 2. And for me, again, Brentford, very close these aren't. Brentford, Sheffield United, and away to Brighton. Again, the Brighton one's dominating it. But those other 2 games were absolutely shocking. For me personally, it's probably the Brentford game. Yes, I know we would have had a big gun in the semi-final, but at that time, our season was lackluster. We had our hopes pinned on this game. They rotated a lot of their side and they outbossed us, which was really, really frustrating and disappointing. And if Brentford do come up this season, you know, they play some fantastic football. I could see them dominating us next season in terms of possession, but that was Heat 2. Let's take a look what you've voted for the worst game this season. And it will not surprise you. First and second is the Brighton games. But the one at home comprehensively wins by quite a margin there. Second place, the 3-0 away defeat. Obviously, after that, we went on that run, which made us finish 12th, which is madness to think, innit? Third place, the 1-0 away defeat of Sheffield United. Hadn't kept a clean sheet, hadn't won all season. We turn up, park the bus. Less said about that, the better. Fourth, Brentford. The 1-0 away defeat. I was crushed that game. Went on a rampage on the channel. And then 5th, Leeds putting 5 past us at Ellen Road. But those are the best and the worst of this season. And this was voted by yous, remember, on the community tab. Get your comments in down below. Are you surprised by any? Because I am a little bit, especially with goal of the season. Maybe young player of the season as well. Probably surprises me a little bit. But I think Joe Willock, for me, and Callum Wilson are the 2 standouts. With Carl Doyle, to give credit, 3, I'll say, are the standout performance this season. Thank you very much, everybody. Smash that like. That'll be fantastic. Plenty of videos coming here off season. We've got announcements to make very, very, very soon on Newcastle Fans TV. More than that, members will know more about that, but more than that very, very shortly. Ta-da, everyone. Bye-bye.